All right, welcome back to another edition of the Sawyer Business School Amplification Avenue podcast presented by Suffolk University. I am here with a special guest today. There's probably no organization hotter in Boston than Boston Legacy FC. I am here with the Chief Revenue Officer, Amina Bulman. And she has kindly joined us here live on this podcast. And we originally had hoped to do this podcast conversation at Startup Week Boston because Boston Legacy is a startup here, and the NWSL, which is fairly well established, is like Major League Rugby, as I interviewed earlier in the week, is a growing, relatively new league and facing those same types of challenges. And Boston Legacy FC, particular as a startup in Boston here, has a unique space. So, Amina, thank you very much for joining us on the Amplification Avenue podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Skip.
I appreciate the time. Well, let's just jump right in. Tell me what your role is as CRO, Chief Revenue Officer of Boston Legacy FC. And I particularly want to know, is that a change from what was traditionally the Chief Marketing Officer, where you are now, being measured? There certainly are clearly ROIs, and there is revenue generated by what you do and what your team does.
Certainly, and in my role as CRO of the Legacy, I oversee both our main revenue streams, so corporate partnerships, ticketing, merchandise, as well as our marketing and analytics platform. And part of the reason why I crafted that role in that way is that I've so often seen at sports teams, and frankly, in general in companies where you sort of have sales on one side and marketing on the other, and if
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
not speaking the same language, they're not talking to each other. And
Often confrontational.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
think we had the opportunity to build an organization where they are closely integrated and our sales team understands the brand and can speak to what the business is trying to accomplish. And the marketing team understands how to support revenue generation as a true partner to the sales side. And so that was my goal in bringing those together under one roof. So it's not a traditional CRO role, but has all those different elements sprinkled in.
Do you think that's the way it should be? Look, you're speaking my language. And there's probably no general sales manager who will ever agree that they're sort of reporting to a marketing officer. But I believe that in my heart that marketing and sales need to work, in a symbiotic manner in order for it to truly be successful.
I do. I mean, I think it's all about the culture that you build. So I think the culture is far more important than the reporting lines. And if you can build a culture where the teams are collaborative and support each other's success and are reading off of the same sheet of music, I think it's less about who's reporting to whom and more about do you share the same goals and are you working in the same direction? But for me, being able to hold those teams accountable in sort of a shared way has been helpful.
That's really cool. You were at the NFL's Washington Commanders before your stop here at Legacy FC, Boston Legacy FC. So you're talking about the biggest of the big, and now you're with the NWSL and trying to grow a business. Can you talk to me about working for a large organization that probably has lots of staff versus a significantly smaller organization?
So the two organizations are very different. The Commanders were a 90-year-old organization. The NFL has incredible brand recognition all across the United States, and everybody knows football. Whereas in this role now, I always have to remind myself that I actually have to spell out what NWSL stands for, National Women's Soccer League, because not everybody knows. And the sort of the where the NWSL is in terms of its business evolution is just much earlier. And there are pros and cons to that. It means that there are opportunities that I have now in this role and that we as the legacy have that were not available to us at the Commanders. And it means that a lot of the systems and processes that have been established for decades in the NFL are still being worked through at a league-wide level in the NWSL. And so I've found that there's certainly lots of transferable skills and transferable knowledge from one role to the next, and really distinct differences as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it's dramatically different. You're 6 months out from the start of when the team actually hits the pitch. I think March will be when you kick off, and the current season is still underway and heading all the way to November. It is an amazingly long season, certainly. But do you view did you come in viewing NW or the Boston Legacy SC as a startup? And again, we were this is on the heels of my week at Startup Week Boston, so we're taking that perspective. Did you view it as a startup organization when you came in?
Absolutely. I mean, we won't play our first game until next March. We're very much still building the team, both on the business side and on the sporting side as well, the actual roster of players. So I think we're a startup at least for the next year, and I think realistically for the next 5 years, as our business goes through various stages of maturity. And I think certainly myself and my team are being asked to, act in ways that test some of those startup skills and that startup mentality, and be flexible and grow quickly and wear multiple hats at once. And I see that every day in my team.
Had you worked in a startup organization prior to this?
I have. When I was in my 20s, I worked at the Obama Foundation. I was one of the very
Mhm.
early employees there. And by the time I left, I think we had 5 times the number of employees as when I started. And so I'm familiar with the experience of both wearing multiple hats and also trying to build the plane while you're flying it. And there
Hmm.
are some things that are just similar in startups, no matter where you are. And so I think having had that experience prepared me for the sense of urgency and the pace and just all the work that has to go into building a club.
Cool. Well, despite the fact that you're flying the plane as you're building it, I know there are expectations, deliverables, KPIs. I always talk to the students about the importance of understanding what qualifies as success. You know, you need to know how you're going to be measured in order to understand whether you're doing a good job or not. What are those key metrics for you and the organization as you get ready to launch here in March?
At the simplest level for us next year, it's how many people are attending our games. We have goals that we want to hold ourselves accountable to, both around the number of people who buy season tickets and also the number of people who attend on a game by game basis. And I guess my theory about our club is that if we can get people to come to games, they'll experience what professional women's soccer looks like in America and they'll be completely hooked and they'll come back again and again. And so for both my marketing and sales teams, it's creating really clear goals around, at this point, prior to the season actually kicking off, around leads, around the size of our database. And then as we actually get into selling tickets, it will really be about how many people can we bring out to the stadium to experience this growth.
And did that change at all? And we're not going to get into the stadium issue per se, but you are going to play down in Foxborough for year one before hopefully getting into that renovated white stadium. Do the number of does the expectation change based on where you're playing now? It's a bigger building, obviously Gillette, but it's not in it's not closer to sort of the ethnic populations of Boston who might be really attracted to soccer. Did you have to adjust your goals based on where now you're going to play?
Certainly changed our strategy. I mean, I feel very lucky to be playing at Gillette Stadium next year. It's going to be the host of the Men's World Cup. It's going to be a
Yep.
beautiful grass field and really sort of the hub of soccer in 2026. Obviously, the New England Revolution have played there for 20 years. Um, and I think what's nice about playing there, in addition to the player experience, is that people in Boston know Gillette. They're used to driving there for Patriots games, for Revolution games, for concerts, and so it's very much a known entity. It's a world-class stadium, and it means that we have effectively for us unlimited capacity in terms of the number of people who can come to each game. The stadium holds 65,000 people. Now, the downside is the stadium holds 65,000 people. And
Right, right.
so if you are, if we're filling half of that, it will still feel empty.
Mm,
I shouldn't say it will feel empty. It will not feel as full as it would when every seat is packed with standing room
sure.
only.
Yeah.
And so we're very much trying to be creative and figuring out how we create a game day experience that still preserves the intensity of what fans love about soccer matches, and creating that environment even before we move back into our home stadium, uh, at White Stadium, which will be that much more sort of right-sized venue, purpose-built for women's sports.
Yep. And the expectation is you'll be there in 2027?
That's exactly right. So
Yeah.
2026 is the year of introducing our fans to the legacy and women's soccer, and 2027 will be about welcoming them home to our venue.
Okay. Well, building a venue in Boston is a different podcast altogether, so we won't get into the details of that. But you know, it's always an interesting process. here. You're entering what I think is a crowded marketplace. I asked the same question of the New England Free Jacks of Major League Rugby. There are the five traditional teams. There's the Boston Fleet in women's hockey. You're coming on board, and maybe there might be a WNBA team in Boston too sooner or later. I'm not sure if I'm willing to bet my mortgage on that, but um, is the market, how do you think about that coming into an existing marketplace, the potential for it to be oversaturated? Is that something you consider? Are you concerned about, or do you really feel like your product, the women's sports in general, is just it's on the come, and we've got a great chance to meet our goals?
As a native Bostonian, I think Boston is the best sports market in the world. And there is significant appetite for sports in general, but I think particularly women's sports. I mean, we've seen the success of the Sun, we've seen the success of the Fleet. Um, and so I'm actually less worried about oversaturation because I think not only is, sports fandom baked into the DNA of Bostonians. But I also think the data is showing us in the NWSL in particular that we're generating new fandoms. So it's less about can I attract fans from the Celtics or the Red Sox to become fans of Boston Legacy, but can I activate new potential fans who might not have felt like those sports teams represented them? And can we build new communities and
Hmm.
new fan bases? For perhaps different populations in the Boston area. And that's really our goal. I mean, we'd love to have crossover with the other sports teams as well, and we expect that we will. But I think what's exciting to us is activating a new fan that might not have felt served by those other teams in the past.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. How key are partners, finding the right partners who can help you not only grow the franchise, but grow interest in soccer, reach the communities that you want? Are you getting good reception, and how critical is that to the success of the organization going forward?
Finding the right partners is critical for so many reasons, certainly for brand awareness and recognition, but also as we tell the story of what this brand stands for, what this organization stands for, the partners that stand side by side for us also speak to that. And so we've been lucky to have lots of demand and lots of interest in partnering with us. And we get to be in the privileged position of figuring out who we really want to stand side by side with and how we can craft partnerships with them that are more than a logo slap, but really about intentional, deep community work and about creating value for both organizations and for the community of fans that we serve.
And I'm guessing you have partners who are in particular saying, look, I want to be in the community. We want to host soccer clinics for young girls, or just the entire soccer community. Are you getting those types of requests from the clients? And again, what I say to students is, if I'm the official pizza of the NFL, and I'm the CMO, and I've convinced the executive team to make that investment, in the end of days, I've got to sell more, right? I've got to sell more pizzas. Otherwise, they'll question the value of it. And I know there's brand building. A sponsor comes to you and says, you're starting up here. We know what the NWSL is, but these are our goals. Is your team in position to sort of work with those organizations to make sure that you as an organization are helping them grow, as well as lifting this organization that you're managing?
Absolutely. I think, you know, a decade ago, an investment in women's sports from a major company probably would have come from a community social responsibility arm or from a DEI arm. I think increasingly brands are seeing the value that women's sports are driving. And so that, that CMO of a pizza company, they're having a conversation with me about how we can drive pizza sales or how we can drive visits to the website. Um, because they're seeing that return on investment. And the data is really there that shows that fans of women's sports have an
Hmm.
affinity for brands that sponsor clubs. There's a stickiness and a retention factor that's really unparalleled. And
For
so,
sure.
from a pure dollars and cents point perspective, we're hearing that from brands beyond, above and beyond the sort of community element. Now, that's important as well. I think brands recognize that women's teams are able to engage with and connect with communities in ways that might not be as standard for men's teams. But at the end of the day, they've got to justify those investments, and so it's on us to prove that the value's there.
Okay. I apologize. I should know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, so I'm flying a little blind here. Do you have a kit sponsor yet? Is there a sponsor that you've lined up to for the front of the jersey?
We do, and we will be announcing within the next month.
Okay, so you actually have that, but you haven't. I had written down UKG here, and I confess I can't remember why I wrote UK. Are they a league sponsor, UKG?
Not that I know of, but maybe in the future.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I don't I'm looking at my notes and I'm like, why did exactly I write that particular note? A few more questions here. My background is sports media. Worked at Comcast Sportsnet, now NBC Sports Boston for 14 years and with the Celtics. And certainly understand how sports is incredibly unique and that there's a built-in media ecosystem. You know, the Boston Celtics have 10, 12 beat writers who just cover their business. Same for the Patriots and Red Sox. There isn't another industry that does that. No one just covers MGH or even, you know, Harvard University. So you guys are in a unique position. Locally here, and I haven't seen this. Again, from the Boston perspective, where will fans see your matches locally? I know there was a recent announcement, I think today from ESPN about an increase of national matches, and you have national agreements. But locally, how are fans going to consume the your content?
We're working through a local media partnership right now, so fans will be able to see our games when they're broadcast locally. Fans can also always watch the games through the NWSL app. The majority now of NWSL games are broadcast nationally, but we obviously want to make sure that we're maximizing the ways that a fan can watch our games.
So there's more news to come on a potential local partner on that front. And clearly
Exactly.
the world has changed a bit. It could very well be a broadcast partner, broadcast station, as opposed to what was that cable universe, Nesson and NBC Sports Boston. How critical do you view that, again, as someone who's responsible for building a brand, to have a good local media partner that can help increase awareness for the franchise?
I think it's so critical. We've got to meet fans where they are. And like you, I grew up in Boston, watching NBC Sports Boston, watching Nesson, and we need to get our brand in front of those fans. And so having a local media partner who can help not only amplify awareness of the club, but also help tell the stories of our players and what we're doing off the pitch, is really critical to building fandom.
One more question before I give you a final question here on that beyond the pitch and just the idea that women's sports is just it's grown so dramatically over the last 5, 10 years. Um, Issues like the gender pay gap and just the equitable treatment of women in sports as it relates to just facilities. Um, how how important is that going to be to your organization and your players about uh, going beyond the pitch and being that great role model for young athletes, young women who want to play soccer or just can benefit from being in sports and then going on and having success in the business community? How front and center will that be for Boston Legacy FC?
I think we want to build the best environment for athletes in the NWSL and frankly in women's sports in general. And you're seeing that in our investments, right? You're seeing that in the caliber of staff that we're bringing on board. Our GM comes from FC Barcelona. Our head coach comes from Benfica. We're bringing top caliber talent in. We're building a brand new performance center in Brockton.
Yep, that's
Will
right.
really
Saw that.
be a state-of-the-art space for both our athletes and then in the future our community as well. And then obviously the new venue. And so I think players recognize the investment that the club is making in them and their careers as players, and then also the off-pitch support and development as we think about the long trajectory of their careers as soccer players and then beyond. Um, and I think it's a way that we can really distinguish ourselves as a club and attract top talent.
Do NWSL clubs have academy systems? I don't know it so well that I know the structure of each. So is that embedded into the NWSL from an individual club standpoint?
Some do and some don't. It's becoming increasingly common. It is on our roadmap, but given
Yeah.
all of the work that has to happen between now and first kick, it's not a near-term priority.
Sure. No, I got it. And I know yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that new facility, the training facility you're building in Brockton, because we did do a little look into that in a class. And I do see that, it's a pretty comprehensive space that you have. And I know you're going to be doing stuff with the community there. So really cool there. Final question. As the CRO, who's someone who's hiring, growing an organization, a lot of our listeners to this podcast will be students who are either in school or recently graduated and are looking for that job, that first job. What are the skills that you look for, hard or soft, in prospective employees as you build your organization?
For entry-level employees, it's all about being able to work hard, ask good questions, and especially at that entry level, sort of demonstrating a commitment to the program and to the industry in general. So I always look for folks who have gone above and beyond in volunteering, in trying to get a foot in the door in the sports ecosystem. It's challenging. It's a hard industry to break into.
Hmm.
But folks who can say to me, here are all the things I've done, here are all the ways that I've tried to give back to this community, always gives them a little bit of an edge up in the application process.
Great. Well, you're mirroring what I tell our students all the time, particularly
Good.
about the volunteering, and that you've got to have, I think, 2 or 3 years of experience on your resume while in college. And experience doesn't necessarily relate to pay. It's time spent in the venue, on the job, doing things. So you can say that. So I do appreciate it. I mean, I really do appreciate the time that you have dedicated. I know you're incredibly busy. You've got lots going on. So thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Skip. And for folks who want to learn more, please do visit us at bostonlegacyfc.com, sign up for our newsletter, follow us on social media. We'd love to be in touch.
Great. And what is the handle on most of those accounts? Boston Legacy FC?
Boston Legacy FC.
Great, great. Well, again, thank you very much. And before we jump out here, just a quick word about the sports management here at Suffolk University Sawyer Business School. We're steps away from Fenway Park, from the TD Garden. There are so many opportunities. We are in the center of it all, and candidly, we're pretty close to where White Stadium will be too. So you can get there from here easily. And we work very, very hard to build relationships with individuals, with companies, to create those volunteer opportunities. The Celtics, the BAA, the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. I could keep rolling them off. So if you are at all interested in a sports management program, check us out at suffolk.edu/business. Again, suffolk.edu/business. And again, if you want more on the Boston Legacy FC, you can you can go to bostonlegacyfc.com. Did I get that right? I
That's exactly
wrote
right.
that down directly. All right. Again, thank you very much, Amina. I appreciate the time.
Thanks so much, Skip.